Welcome to our Here for the Heart Yoga Fit Self-Care Saturday. This is heart-centered from an energetic perspective, meaning heart chakra, heart energy. It is also heart-centered from a physical perspective, meaning we'll do things to benefit our cardiovascular health. And we'll focus on self-compassion. Self-compassion has gotten a reputation for being like really ooey gooey. And kind of soft, and we are going to do the other side of it as well. One of my favorites is the yin and yang of self-compassion. So we'll get our own sort of fighting spirit going for our self-compassion. Not that just we're soft and squishy and lovey-dovey, but that we're also like ready to fight for ourselves. We've got that mama bear or papa bear energy happening. We'll look a little bit at our Vayus. Vayana Vayu deals with circulation, so we're going to get our blood pumping in all directions. If you are interested in the Vayus, it is something we teach in our Yoga Fit trainings. I added it to our Yoga Fit for Sleep training since it's something that I find fun, and it's in any of the other trainings that deal with Ayurveda. We will begin, like I said, in a seated position, sitting comfortably, and we'll actually start with a mudra for protection. So if we haven't done mudras before, they are yoga poses for our hands, and this one we interlace our fingers and we are protecting our hearts here. So sometimes it might feel like a bit of a dark note to start on, maybe, to be starting with protection, but maybe we're thinking of it as protecting or carving out our time for self-care. So you may really connect with the fact that this is a mudra for protection, like, yes, people are coming at my heart, I have to protect my heart. Or maybe you connect more with this concept of protecting our self-care time, meaning that we have so many priorities in our lives, it's important to carve out time for self-care. So whatever we like, we're interlacing our fingers, we're holding them in front of our hearts. We can rest them on the chest if we like. We can hold it out in front, more like a shield if we like that stronger feeling. So this will be our opening meditation mudra, and I invite us to close our eyes if that feels right. If not, maybe just tucking the chin, relaxing the muscles around the eyes. So this mudra reminds us to set healthy boundaries with ourselves and others. And sometimes we have gone through times of hurt, and maybe just past that time of hurt or many years later, we still feel the need to have a tender heart and protect that tender heart. Creating a self-care bubble around ourselves with the energy of this mudra. And with each breath, noticing the movement in the rib cage. So sometimes this is referred to as breathing into our heart space. And for today, we'll breathe into a three-dimensional heart. So that means that with each breath and each heartbeat, we're feeling expansion in all directions. So we're probably aware of the breath expanding forward into the chest, maybe less aware of it expanding side to side into the underarms, and maybe even less aware of it expanding into the back. Movement of the back ribs here, maybe noticing subtle movements of our shoulder blades or collarbones. Feeling safe, strong, and protected. And maybe we feel this loving safety in our heart chakra, or maybe we're feeling it more in our root chakra, which symbolizes safety as a life foundation. Option to set an intention for our time here together. Holding on to it. Using it to modify or adapt any of our practices. And let's go ahead and release our hands somewhere comfortable. Might feel nice to shake them off, circle the wrists, wiggle the fingers, maybe roll the shoulders. And let's keep going with this concept of safety and our root chakra. We'll begin with Kundalini circles, or you may know them as a spinning top. We'll begin to circle the body. So it's tough to feel loving and caring for ourselves if we're feeling unsafe. And even this feeling of lack of safety relates more to our yang of self-compassion, our willingness to fight for ourselves. So when there's a saying from the teachings of A Course in Miracles, if I defend myself, I am attacked. So if we're not being attacked, there's no need to be defensive, right? But if we feel that need to defend, that's a good opportunity to ask ourselves, well, how am I being attacked? And it's probably our root chakra, our sense of safety. Maybe not, sometimes it's our sense of ego or something else, but we can tap into helping ourselves feel safe. And right now we're doing this with physical movement. So noticing the weight of our seats on our yoga mats, or maybe you're sitting in a chair. And we'll begin to get this fire stoked inside us from our internal core muscles, from our core strength. We're limbering up our hips so we can move more freely through our practice. And we might even think of this as taking our hearts in a circle instead of taking our bodies in a circle. And it's probably the coldest time of year where you are. I don't know where you are, but I'm guessing. And this is a great way to stoke that inner fire, especially first thing in the morning if we're feeling a little creaky, we've just gotten out of bed. Some of us might like to do really big sweeping circles, maybe smaller, more controlled circles. Maybe we want to move faster, maybe we want to move slower. Noticing what we're doing. Option to vary it. But then we got to make sure we go both directions, don't we? So notice which direction you're going. Let's take it the other direction. This direction might feel a little bit different. Often our coordination is better in one direction than the other. And then let's let our bodies be our guide. Maybe we want our hands down on the mat for more support. Maybe we're feeling it's a bit too much. We want to bring it into a smaller motion. Maybe it feels smooth, bumpy, whatever it is, okay? So we are exercising our powers of looking within, seeing how we're feeling. I hope we're starting to feel warm.
You had to.
So hopefully we are limbering up our hips. And by doing that, we might actually be able to breathe more easily. Often when our hips are tight, everything sort of hunkers down into this closed attack position. So if we loosen up our hips, we may notice our breath is flowing more freely. We'll come back through to center. Settling in, tall, strong spine. And let's just circle sweep the arms a few times to bring ourselves back into center. Inhaling up and exhaling down. Moving at our own perfect pace, checking in with how shoulders are feeling. We'll be doing a fair number of heart openers today, sometimes involving the arms. So let's just take a moment to notice if the arms are feeling good, range of motion is good in the shoulders. If not, remembering that we can modify the range of motion, right? Maybe arm motions are smaller, more comfortable. You know how it goes. Hopefully this isn't your first day living inside this body. You know your own limits. All right, we'll bring it into heart. Let's bring our hands to heart center, pausing for a moment here. This is supposed to boost our energy, bringing to mind the last time you saw someone being kind. It could be you doing it, someone being kind to you, or maybe two other people showing kindness to one another. Any act, big or small, bringing it into our minds. And if we can't think of anything, simply saying to ourselves, kindness. And then we're ready to let that go. We'll loosen up our hips. Option to windshield wipe the legs if that feels comfortable. And then let's all meet in a child's pose. So we'll take a minute moving into child's pose, flipping those legs around. Modifying child's any way we need to. Okay, good. And sometimes child's can feel pretty safe and protected. But it'll give us the option to do a little bit more heart opening in child's today. We won't do too many child's poses, but anytime we want to do a rest, if we come into child's, option to walk it a bit further forward to be more heart melting towards the mat. Doesn't have to be a huge range of motion, just a little bit of a different option for today. Let's see how it feels. Maybe our forehead rests on the mat, maybe not. And if that's far too much, of course, we can take our forearms down and stack our fists as a shelf for our forehead, feeling more stable and solid. So we're probably familiar with the typical child's pose. So for today, we're just taking the hands further forward, melting the heart a bit more. If we love it, go with it. If not, we can forget it. But for now, let's get moving. So we'll come onto all fours, spreading fingers wide, hopefully feeling the warmth in our hands by this point, pressing the tops of our feet down. We'll move through cat and cow, but it'll give us different options as we go. So if we're familiar with cat and cow, super strong press through the tops of the feet and every knuckle joint as we make our spines the shape of a rainbow, and then the letter U. But let's bring this energy and alignment to our hearts. So we are hiding our hearts away in cat, safe and protected, and then shining our hearts forward like a Care Bear stare in our cow, moving back and forth between these two. And maybe we want to go a little off the beaten path, a little bit more to the side, or shifting our weight front and back. We can think of this as more a wild-hearted cat and cow, that our hearts can move in any direction. Hiding our hearts away, and then opening our hearts forward. And we may like to be taking our hearts side to side. So from a more neutral position, taking a look over one shoulder, closing one side of the heart, opening the other, back through center, and then we take it the other way, closing one side of the heart, opening the other. Maybe we're thinking of our rib cage as more of an accordion. We can inhale as we come through to one side, and then exhale, strong core as we come back through center. So like I said, I'll offer us different variations of this. Feel free to stick with a basic cat and cow. We can go side to side. If we would like to make it funky, we can take our hearts in a circle, doing what's sometimes called a dancing cat or a barrel roll. Some coordination required here. But often it feels nice to limber up a little bit more, maybe feeling it in the underarms, maybe the neck feels a bit looser. So our rib cage is moving in a circle if we choose dancing cat, and then our tailbones and our heads are just sort of along for the ride, choosing a comfortable range of motion. And anytime we're having circling movements or moving of the head or neck, we might get dizzy. And a simple cure for that really is just to keep the head centered or keep the eyes focused and let the body move. Noticing what direction we're moving, and then let's go ahead and take it in the other direction. Circling evenly, both sides. Maybe bringing a smile to our faces, relaxing the space between our eyebrows, relaxing tongue and jaw. Sometimes in an effort to concentrate, it looks like we've eaten a lemon or like we're working on a very difficult math equation. And then when we feel that we're balanced left to right, front and back in our dancing cat, if we're ready, we can rest back into child's for a moment, or maybe we would like to melt our hearts a bit more towards the earth. Pausing for a second here. We could even flip our palms up to give our wrists a rest. And we'll have one more here before we get off our wrists. So feel free to stay resting as much as we like. Remember, it is a self-care Saturday. Let's strengthen our hearts. So we're gonna have a strong and stable position after having a wild heart. We'll do opposite hand and leg in spinal balance, and we may like to start like this. So go ahead and press your right hand down. So we're really doing a strong press, right hand into the mat, soft elbow, pushing through our fingerprints. And then we'll take our left hand forward and our right foot back. So this may be our favorite variation of spinal balance, strong like a table. We switch sides. Press the left hand down, right hand forward, left leg back. And we can keep switching like this, doing sort of an animal crawl here. We could make the movement smaller, we could make the movement bigger, but we'll keep going, alternating spinal balance. If we're ready to warm up our heart openers, We may like to take opposite hand and leg towards one another behind the back of our body. So we could start that with a small movement, reaching forward and then sort of playing with it in behind us, like we have eyes in the back of our heads or maybe the back of our hearts. Strong through the back body and controlled through our cores. And I know I do tend to talk quickly, move quickly, breathe quickly. Feel free to slow it down here, matching breath with movement, everyone going at our own perfect pace. And some of us may be feeling quite limber today. We're going for that clasp. Sometimes this one's called tiger pose. Maybe we are unleashing our inner tiger. And then when we are ready to rest, we can make our way back into child's or downward facing dog. So when we feel even, right side, left side, option 4, our more heart-melting child's, our regular restful child's, or maybe we're ready to pick it up into downward facing dog and pedal out our heels. And since we're talking heart health, cardiovascular health, I can't neglect our good upper body pump. So it'll give us the option here to warm up our half series. So from our regular child's, inhaling forward into a kneeling plank, option to hold here, or exhale through our crocodile, and then resting back again into our regular child's for the sake of alignment. Inhaling forward, maybe we exhale and hold our plank, then push back into child's, or if we like our typical crocodile press up, we can. So we exhale at the hardest part to really pull our core strength in. So this is part of our yang or yang action of self-compassion, is to have this kind of in our movements. We can't just be soft and accepting all the time. Sometimes part of heart health is healthy boundaries and saying, actually, no, push the earth away. Okay, one more if we are doing our upper body, feeling our blood pumping, hopefully feeling some warmth going on. And then again, we're resting back, child's or downward facing dog. And like I said, we're gonna make our way to get off our wrists. So let's come into a kneeling lunge here. From down dog or maybe child's, we'll take the right foot forward between our hands. We can climb up our front thigh and we're loosening up the front of the left hip. Elongating our spine, deep breath in. And I invite us to an open-hearted heart opener here. We'll come into cactus arms, drawing the elbows back, shining our hearts forward. Let's go ahead and take it to the other side. Switching through down dog or child's. Again, sorry, people keep coming into the waiting room and I don't want them to be waiting, so I'm letting everybody in, making sure everybody is muted. And we're gonna step the left foot forward between our hands. And actually in traditional Chinese medicine, the heart line goes through the arms and relates to the air element and deals with feelings like grief and worry and kind of breathing a sigh of relief and getting things off our chest. So similar to yoga, but a little different. That means I always like to involve our arms when we do these heart opening classes. We'll go once more each side. Option if we would like, from downward facing dog, we can lift the right leg high and then come into a high lunge instead of a kneeling lunge. Your choice. Maybe we're opening into cactus, or maybe we prefer opening into arms at T instead, if we have the space. Probably feeling our breath more in our hearts. Let's switch to the other side, stepping back. Down dog or child's. Maybe we're lifting left and then stepping between our hands. Kneeling lunge or tall standing lunge. Whichever option we pick, we're open-hearted, spines are long. Arms can be at T or cactus. Breathing into our front of our ribcage, feeling that expansion. And let's take our hands down. Here's our change. We're gonna step forward into mountain. So maybe we're moving through a really bent knee forward fold. Maybe we wanna give our heads a little shake. Maybe with our nose, shaking our heads, we're practicing good boundaries. And as we nod our heads yes, we are inviting the good into our lives. We'll make our way all the way up to standing. And let's reset. Inhaling, circle sweep up. Exhaling, bringing hands into heart. Noticing how we're feeling. Maybe we're more checking in with our vayus at this point, noticing the hum of energy in our bodies. Can we feel our blood pumping right out to the tips of our fingers and toes? Can we feel a warm flush in our cheeks? That is our Vayana Vayu, our Vayu of circulation. This is one of the many winds in our bodies. We'll bring hands to heart, and from the top of our mats, let's step open to the long edge of our mats. And we'll do our sun and moon flowers, but let's do it in a little bit of a different way today. We'll take our fingertips to our collarbones, bending down into our wide squat, making sure that we probably know our good alignment here. Knee over ankle, we can wiggle our toes. Toes are out on a comfortable diagonal, feet are a comfortable distance apart. With our fingertips on our collarbones, we notice that our shoulders are down and back. Neck is long, the weight of the world is off our shoulders. And then we'll take heart to sky with our inhale. So we're inhaling up and out into 5-pointed star, exhaling fingertips back to our collarbones. Lifting heart to sky with our inhale, exhaling strong and grounded. So again, our collarbones hold a special place in traditional Chinese medicine for lifted emotions that are considered to be in the heart, like grief and worry, anxiety, sometimes a feeling of breathlessness. And similar to our heart chakra in yoga, this is where the air element lives, where our lungs are, right? That makes sense? And then anything we can do to loosen up down the length of the arms can possibly help us to breathe a bit more easy. Okay, let's get into that yang element of self-compassion. We're gonna open up, we're gonna open big, we're gonna spread our fingers. Kind of like a big bear, a mama bear, papa bear, whatever you like to call it. This is our scary, raging bear kind of energy. Tall and proud, really claim the space, muscle hugging bone, feeling strong. And then let's do a more yin variation. We'll circle sweep into our sunflowers. So we have both this softness and this strength up and out claiming space. And we need both of them to be compassionate to ourselves and others, right? Sometimes we really need that fighting spirit. We need to go to bat for ourselves. And sometimes we need more of that energy of love and acceptance to say to ourselves, you know what? Everything's gonna be okay. It's fine. I'm safe. It's all working out for my highest good. And then we could flow back and forth between our sun and our heart to sky. Technically, we could do this one as a heart cleansing kriya, maybe alternating one and then the other, focusing on the energy of the heart, working up a sweat. We could focus our energy inwards, thinking about caring for ourselves, or we could focus our energy outwards, thinking about giving and receiving love, care, and kindness for others. Okay, whatever we're doing, let's do one more good one. We're gonna pause again in that big up and open scary bear 5-pointed star. Let's take our hands to our hips. We'll turn our feet a little bit more forward. One of my favorites, an alternating side to side lunge. So I'm gonna go ahead and bend one knee. Sometimes it's called a single leg chair or a broken chair, single leg squat. I know it as a side lunge. So all 10 toes are pointing just about straight forward. We come back through center again into our 5-pointed star. And then we go to the other side, and then we're alternating at our own perfect pace. Probably inhaling up, big and bold. Exhaling down, strong and proud. Maybe we're bringing hands to heart center as we come through. Maybe we're moving through this mudra for protection as we come down. So we really got a lot of protection going on here. Our yang energy is working. We have solid boundaries, maybe picturing a bubble around ourselves that nobody can come into. This is our safe space where we are strong. Okay, I'll give us one option here. We can do a twisted heart variation. So opposite hand to knee as we come into our twist, and then the same thing up through center. Opposite hand to knee as we come through our twist. We still have this neutral spine as we go through one side to the other. Whatever we're working on, let's do maybe one more each side. We can pause and drink anytime we like. And then let's pause in our 5-pointed star, tall and proud. We'll bring hands to heart center. We'll walk our feet in. And let's do some percussion just underneath the collarbone. So if you're familiar with emotional freedom technique or tapping, this is one of our acupressure or acupuncture points. So maybe you know it from acupressure or acupuncture. And it can help us to calm an overwhelmed heart. But I do like to do it as a little recovery. After doing all these big movements, we're getting our heart pumping, we can recover, tapping underneath the collarbone. And actually it's supposed to be extra strength if we cross our wrists, because then we have left brain, right brain action going on. We can create sort of a break in our pattern and room for something new. Let's take one more deep breath in and a long breath out, maybe through the lips. Okay, we're gonna do one more cardio challenge here, and then a recovery, and then we'll kind of smooth things out. Okay, let's come into a chair flow, and we're probably facing the short edge of the mat so you can look at me, so I can look at you. I'm gonna stay facing you, and let's start with our basic chair flow. So we'll go somewhere familiar to begin, inhaling up, and exhaling down, strong through our glutes. If we pause at the bottom range of motion and give our toes a little wiggle, we can see our toes and our body weight is evenly placed between the front of the foot and the back of the foot. We just don't want to be dropping down like we're in an elevator. We need to slide our butts a bit more back to activate our glutes. Again, we can be modifying the movement of the arms. But I would like to give us a little cardio kick in the name of our hearts. So if we would like, we can keep going like this. If we want to kick it up a notch, maybe we're lifting on our toes. And I'm just going to keep kicking it up more to give us a little bit more, obviously. So maybe instead of coming up on our toes, we're doing a little hop. And the faster we go, probably the more our breath is going out of time from our movements. And if we would like, we can just stay down in a plyometric chair or a hopping chair. And if we would like to do a bit more, we can hop in and out. But I'm really staying down in this chair as I'm doing this. So let's be realistic. I don't know if you are recently recovering from a broken leg, right? Like, take it at your own pace, take what you like. If this is a good fitness challenge for you, you love it, let's go for it. Maybe another 10 seconds here. If we want, we could have arms forward. And again, face however you like to face in your space to be able to see me. I just turned so I can see you and you can see me. Okay, last 3, 2, 1. We'll go back to a very gentle chair to recover, only into a bar stool. Probably noticing, again, our internal energy, our values, our different winds are stirred up. Maybe we feel tingling into our fingertips. And if we would like, we can again recover, tapping on our collarbones or crossing our wrists. And we'll do a different recovery option wherever we are. Let's step wide on our mats. We can let the arms go. And we'll do a Tai Chi variation. So we inhale, open our arms to T, and then exhale, we're gonna pivot through our hips like we're bowling a ball, throw it away. Inhale up, and throw it away. Letting our heart rate recover, letting our breathing come back more to normal. And we're pivoting on our feet, so we're picking up our heel, pivoting, drawing from our hips. Okay, I hope we've gotten the knack for this one. We're gonna do, maybe this is our last really yang variation. We're gonna add a little huh. Maybe before we do it, we wanna think of a situation in our lives where we could fight for ourselves. A place maybe we've been a little too soft, where you know what? We could be a little bit more strong. We're gonna take fireballs in our hands. We're gonna go like this. Join me whenever you're ready. We're gonna inhale, pull the elbows back, and then exhale, throw that fireball away. We'll go side to side. Here we go. Inhale. We can all go at our own pace. Blow it away, make as much noise as you like. Some people prefer a vocalization, like that. If you would like, unleash that powerful heart that you have. I hope we're feeling our heart rate pick up a bit again. Okay, let's go once more each way. Finishing, if we remember, on the opposite side from where we started. We'll walk the feet back together. And we're gonna picture that the storm has passed, and I'll give us a breathing technique that's supposed to help us recover. We could just stand in mountain pose, 2 inhales, and a quick exhale. So 2 sharp sniffs, and probably exhale through the lips. Might make us dizzy, so I'm gonna limit it to just 2 more rounds. Inhale, and let it go. Okay, taking a moment for ourselves, whatever we need to do. That might have been a lot for you, and you just wanna do some circle sweeps and relax. You might feel like you're really still raring to go. You have a lot of fire, totally fine. We will move into a warrior series. So I invite you to come with me as you are ready. Let's start from downward dog. So if we do have a lot of heat, a lot of fire, maybe we are moving through a downward dog. Maybe we are coming through a half series if we would like. So yogi's choice, whatever we're working on these days. We could of course pause in child's or heart opening child's. I know this is a multi-level class, so please do with it what we will. But then when we're ready, let's go ahead and we'll take our right foot to the top of the mat for warrior 1, and we'll plant our back foot down flat. Oh, yeah. And pausing in warrior 1, maybe again we are open into our cactus arms. So this gives our quick people a chance to build strength. And if we're moving more slowly this morning, feel free to take our time catching up. And as we open to warrior 2, I think I'm actually gonna put my back to you. So we've got our right knee bent. Let's open into cactus for our warrior 2. Double checking that we have shoulders stacked over hips and hands stacked over legs. As we come into our reverse warrior, it'll give us an option for a tricep stretch. So right arm comes up, and maybe taking the right arm in behind the head. So we are opening the right side of the heart here. Now we haven't done a lot of loosening up. Maybe we're working towards a bind or just sort of faking it. I like to do these open binds when we're not super warm in our arms yet. So I've dropped the right hand in behind the head and the left arm is just wrapped in behind the back. So hands are working towards one another without forcing. As we make our way into side angle, let's take front arm to front thigh, and our left arm can actually stay wrapped in behind. So we are opening the front of the left shoulder, rolling the heart open towards the ceiling. Yes, some of us might be in the habit of doing a bind, maybe not. From here, we can turn it into our triangle by keeping a super straight spine and then straightening the front leg. We might not be that low, but that is completely fine. Lengthening out our leg muscles that we're just working so hard. So now we're asking them to be flexible and limber and also strong at the same time. Which is a good mentality to have, right? To be strong and flexible. All right, let's take our hands down to frame our right foot. We can pivot ourselves forward. And yogi's choice again, maybe we're resting back in child's. Maybe we're moving through our half series. Maybe we want, our plank, chaturanga, up dog or child's. Still getting that heart pumping to work our muscles, carry us through. We are ready for the second side, aren't we? So let's go ahead and take our left foot to the top of the mat, climbing up our front thigh. Back foot is plugged into the mat. We're strong, pulling up through our inner arches. Maybe we even imagine that there is a string from the inside of the arch up through the inner thigh, drawing this energy up through pelvic floor, core, and then heart lifts from there. We could be open in our cactus arms. But we've been in cactus arms a lot, haven't we? So maybe we would like to take fingers to shoulders to give our arms a little rest, fingertips behind ears to be less open. And then we can open to our warrior two here. So we're opening our hips to the side wall, adjusting as needed, double checking that we're not slumping forward or back in any direction. And from our warrior two, let's make our way into our reverse warrior. So we keep our strong warrior two base, adding a lateral flexion to our upper body. Maybe we're even double checking that our legs don't have a mind of their own. Knee is over top of ankle. If we like our tricep stretch, increasing the stretch through the left side of the heart, perfect. Maybe we're working fingertips towards one another behind the back for a variation of cow face arms. And we can still have energy in our palms, right? So spreading our fingers wide, starfishing our hands. We can starfish our feet to hold the energy in our foundation. And as we make our way into side angle, we can leave our right arm where it is, taking left to left, long, tall spine. So our body is like a playground slide, nice straight diagonal. If anyone wants to work towards a bind, we can. So the left arm drops in front of the thigh, right arm drops behind. But like I said, we're not super warm, so maybe we're not going all the way there. To turn it into our triangle, we still keep twisting the right side of the heart up to the sky, and we can lengthen our front leg. And since we're already halfway down there, let's keep this strength in our spine. We don't want to give up and collapse towards the floor. We're shifting our aim towards the floor and going there with intention. Whenever we're ready, we can step back, down dog or child's, yogi's choice. We can rest, we can flow. Maybe we're in that little heart melting variation of our child's. And then once we're ready with that, we can make our way back up to standing. And we'll finish with a couple of more gentle poses. So let us do a variation of a humble warrior. It's important to have this really open-hearted, brave, superhero pose to move through the world with. But we also then collapse our lung capacity in the back. So it's important to have different energies and intentions. From a mountain pose, let's go ahead and step the right foot forward, left foot back, but all 10 toes are facing forward. We just have a gentle bend in our front leg. So a split stance or a short stance warrior one. We're going to humble our hearts. We still maintain the integrity of our spine, so we'll come forward like a deadlift with a flat back. But here's our option to add a heart opener. Maybe we're open to T. Maybe we have our airplane wings in behind. We could be squeezing our upper back, working hand to hand. If we want to interlace, we can, but we know we never have to, right? And then, while maintaining the integrity of our spines, shining our hearts forward, let's humble our hearts down to the earth. Our front leg can be bent or straight, but let's pick one intentionally. So this might be quite a stretch for some of us, but we all get the energetic benefits of a humble body position. We'll use the strength in our back body, the entire back line of the body from the back of the heel to the base of the skull to bring ourselves up. And we'll switch feet. Let's take the opposite foot forward. All 10 toes point front so that our hips are forward as we come down rather than being a little bit wonky. So that might mean we need to adjust the stance of our split stance, feet a little closer, wider, whatever that may be. Tall spine, maybe arms to T, maybe cactus, maybe reaching our hands in behind us. If we want a softer variation, we can even hold our shirt instead of interlacing. But if we love interlacing, yes, of course we can. And actually interlacing might be a softer variation for you because we have to use a lot of strength to hold our hands close, but a lot less strength. Once they're interlaced, they can release. So as with everything, lots of options, lots of choices. If it's easier for your brain, you could always just do what I'm doing. It's all good. And like I said, we'll use the strength in the entire back body to come up. So we're gonna picture a long line of strength from the base of the heel to the base of the spine, and those are the muscles that pull us all the way up. We'll release. We'll do a balance pose next. So we've done a fair amount of work for our legs, especially if we were doing all those jumps. We might want to go near a wall, and we'll do a variation of dancers. So let's start with whatever our best side is. I think I'm going to go with this side today. So we'll pick one leg as our standing leg, and then that'll be our orientation for right and left. So we pick a standing leg, and my standing leg is going to be closest to the wall. So I have my standing leg and my same arm for support. And we'll do our flamingo pose, which I like to picture as we're taking the oil can, like the Tin Woodsman, we're oiling up our joints. So we're gonna quad stretch, a floating quad stretch in our floating leg. And then we can bend and straighten. So as we bend and straighten our floating leg, we are tensing the back of the leg. So some of us might get a little bit of a Charlie horse while we're here. But little by little, we're oiling up to loosen up the knee, loosen up our quad especially. Let's hold that floating quad stretch. We can stay here the entire time, or we can oil up the arm. So our floating arm, same arm as floating leg, is gonna draw big backstroke circles up, around, and back. And maybe we're holding in this open position, or yes, of course, we could be making connection for dancers. If we want to lift up into this more bowl-like shape, we're holding the inside of the ankle, kicking leg into arm, we're resisting that, the arm pulling back into the socket. Muscles of both feet are active. Okay, and fun fact, anytime we're in a really demanding back bend like this, we actually shut off some of our lung capacity in our back, so we might feel like we don't quite have enough breath to hold us here. But we can. We're gonna find that moment of flight. If we wobble and fall over, we reset, and then we decide, when to gracefully exit. So if you do collapse and fall out, get back into it, because then we train our brains and our hearts to leave situations with grace and ease. Okay, let's do the other side. So we got our second standing leg, our second best side, just learned from our best side how to do it right. Maybe we put a little soft bend in the knee, and now we know what's coming. Our floating leg, we're warming up our quad stretch. If we're holding on to something, same arm as standing leg is holding. So one side of the body is stable, the other side of the body is free. Picturing our quads, the front of the thigh, really loosening up, releasing. We're gonna hold our floating quad stretch, and then we're gonna do a big backstroke up, around, and back with the same arm as our floating leg. Trying to keep our breath smooth and steady. We're still lifting all these muscles to keep ourselves tall. And if we want to close our quad stretch, we can. We could leave it open. We can hold our pant leg. Generally, we avoid holding the top of the foot. It can be not so great for the sensitive top of the foot. We hold the outside of the ankle, or if we want to come up into our bowl-shaped dancer's pose, we hold the inside of the ankle, ideally like a Barbie foot. So we're pointing the ankle but flexing the toes. Really kick the leg away, open the heart forward, and resist ripping your arm off. The arm stays strong, pulling against the legs. So we got our muscles working in all directions, and we can still have this muscular engagement in a smaller version. So the leg kicks down, the arm pulls up to still maintain our posture. All these things just in a smaller range of motion. Okay, like I said, we might feel like we can't quite get enough air because we've shut off the back of our lung capacity. We haven't shut it off. We've just squished our lung capacity a little bit. Once we find that moment of flight, with grace and ease, let's see if we can come out, give it a little shake. Might feel nice to kind of round the back in the opposite direction or invite some organic movement into the body. And we're gonna make it all the way down to the mat. So again, if you would like a more aggressive way of getting down there, we can do that. We can add some more chaturangas if we like. We could add hopping, or we can just go ahead and take it easy, getting down to the mat into a gentle child's pose. And then let's all meet in child's or a pose that feels equally restorative and restful. Tuning in with the beating of our hearts in child's or whatever restful variation you're in. And then let's walk our hands back. We'll come into a kneeling position. I'll give us an option for camel. And like we've been doing, I'll give us a more gentle option and then a more option if we would like. So from a kneeling position, we can be doing a kneeling heart opener. You could also do this sitting on your bum or sitting in a chair, coming into that sort of exaggerated superhero chest pop. We could walk our hands down our thighs or maybe interlace our fingers again. If we love camel or we want to try out camel, sometimes it's easier with toes tucked if our feet are flexible, because then our feet aren't so far away to land on them. If that's not happening for our feet, but the rest of our body wants to go, yeah, we can walk straight down our thighs, one hand on our thigh as the next comes to our heels, but still keeping our bodies straight. And just like me, we should be able to talk comfortably while we're here. We should be able to breathe comfortably. So if any of those things aren't happening, then maybe we're doing a much less exaggerated back bend. We're in a little bit of a smaller back bend. It's all good. When we feel called to do so, let's come out of this pose, let our spines neutralize. I personally like to let my spine just come straight and take a seat. You may feel drawn to do a little cat and cow. Again, we're listening to our bodies, and then we'll all come to sit on the floor, if we can, in a comfortable seated position. So take a minute for your back if you feel the need to kind of loosen stuff up. Right, okay, so we've done all this really powerful opening, muscular sort of front body focused movement, but actually one of the best cardiovascular benefits of yoga is not in the work itself, but in the rest. So let's switch into more of a rest and recovery state, and we'll do one of my favorite poses to feel really safe and in our own little safe shell. So it's sort of like butterfly in the sense that we take the soles of the feet together, but we're going to take them far away, as far forward as we can take them on the mat, while still keeping the soles of the feet together. So if we go so far forward that the feet come apart, that's a little bit too far. Bring it in so we still have this open diamond shape, and our feet are sole to sole, just like haha yoga joke, as when we come to class, us yoga students are soul to soul. It's a terrible joke. All right, and this is called tortoise pose. So we're gonna picture we have this really safe tortoise shell as we come into a Not necessarily a back bend like cat, but again, I like to think of this idea of a humbled or softer body position as we come forward. So often when we fold forward, we keep this real straight as an arrow spine that's really tall and powerful. Let's allow that spine to soften here into our tortoise shell. So we can be soft on the inside because our shell is hard on the outside. So we can allow our back muscles to relax. Allow our hearts to bow into this pose, the beating of our hearts to release. And maybe we can use our breathing to help us slow down here. Full breath in and then a long breath out. It may feel natural to do a full breath, pause with the lungs full, and then a long breath out. Or some of us may prefer to do maybe inhaling for 4 and exhaling for 8. If we're still comfortable here, we'll spend a couple more rounds of breath, allowing our inhale to draw us deeper into this humbled position. And then once we're ready to come out, we might want to again windshield wipe our legs. Often, because of the position our legs have been in, I notice sometimes people's feet and ankles crack, or they might want to just shake them off a little. After rounding forward, we might want to round backwards like we are sunning ourselves on the beach. We'll begin to make our way to lie on our backs. We'll do a little bit of twisting, a little bit more opening, and then our final recovery. We did start the recording a little bit late, so those of you who are joining us live, we're going to carry over a little to go closer to that 1 hour mark. We can go easy on ourselves instead of flopping back. We are caring for ourselves on the way back. And then once we get there again, let's let our bodies guide us, letting some intuitive movement or whatever feels like we're naturally being called to do it, letting that into our bodies. So let's get into some poses that are generally thought of as being quite beneficial for recovery. Since I said that's so much of the benefit of yoga, let's recover here. So we'll start by drawing knees to chest, giving ourselves a big hug. Again, there is that loving vibe of being energetic in this tight little shell, giving ourselves a hug, thinking about what we respect about ourselves, what we really love. We'll hold just behind the right leg, let's extend the left leg out. Again, give this right leg a big hug. Maybe circle the ankle, wiggle the toes, point and flex. So we'll start with something pretty easygoing. We don't want to put anything too taxing on our bodies because we really just got our hearts pumping. It is time to release. We are stimulating digestion, hugging belly into thigh. Drawing knees to chest. Let's go the other way. Again, stimulating digestion. And it is said, forgive me, that a farting heart is a happy heart. So it all works together, right? If we're really full and bloated, you probably know this feeling after a large family event. You kind of feel like you can't get a deep breath. Maybe you feel sort of internally congested. So if we can keep our digestion moving, we can breathe more deeply, and then our hearts can beat more fully. I'll give us the option for a twist here. So this is one of my favorites. You may have a slightly different favorite, but I'll lead you through this one. So from knees to chest, We let our feet plant. We'll take our hips a little closer to the right side of the mat. So we got to do a little lift, shift our butts over to the right side. And we'll do a figure 4 twist. So we're taking right ankle over left thigh, and then twist, 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 twist until our right foot plants on the mat. To involve our arm line that is supposed to relieve feelings of grief and worry, we can take our arm just sort of up and out of the way. I'll show you with my back to you. So I have taken my butt to the side, right over left, come into a twist, and then my arm out of the way, sort of up overhead, anywhere it feels good, or out to a broken T position. And this is hopefully lengthening the right side of the body, the right arm line, so that the right side of the lung right side of the body can expand more fully. And if this is not comfortable, could we just be in our regular figure 4 instead? Of course. Could we be in a regular gentle twist? Of course. So let your body be your guide, as always. Let's do a long breath out, allowing the weight of our bodies to settle down into the earth just a touch more. And then with our next exhale, we'll use a little strength draw from the core to bring the legs back up in our own time, whenever we're ready. We might want to shake off or release. But we got 2 sides, don't we? So we'll bring ourselves back to center. Let our feet plant on the mat. This time hips go to the left, ankle over thigh, so left ankle over right thigh. We come into our twist. And it doesn't have to settle all the way on the floor, but if we're feeling some kind of nice figure 4 type stretch. And then our free arm now can go anywhere out of the way. And this can help loosen up, like I said, the arm line. We're drawing from traditional Chinese medicine to alleviate feelings of grief, worry. Sometimes we think anxiety might live here, this sort of stuck on an inhale kind of feeling. That kind of sharp inhale of what if. And we can shift it into a delicious sigh of relief. And this relates to our heart chakra as well, right? Our ability to feel connected to others. Who do we normally worry about? Well, if we worry about ourselves, a great way to lift that feeling is to get connected to others. And if we worry about others, a way to get curious and lean into that is to connect with ourselves. What is it about this that is worrying me? What is it about me that is causing me so much worry? Am I feeling a lack of control? Again, getting stuck in the what ifs? And can we come into the present, the only place where we have control over anything, if ever, by coming back to the feeling of our hearts, breathing into our heart space, feeling expansion of rib cage. On our next exhale, allowing our bodies to feel more heavy, settling into the mat. And on our next exhale, we'll use a little control from our core to bring ourselves back to center. And for our final relaxation, I'll welcome us first to do any stretch that we feel we're missing. But one of my favorites I call double diamond. So once we're sort of settled and we're ready to come into our relaxation, letting the legs come into sleeping butterfly. So I'm letting the knees butterfly open. We might like more of a tortoise variation, taking the feet further down the mat. And if this is a bit too intense, we could bend just one leg at a time. But then the second diamond is if we make a diamond with our arms, taking hands overhead. So we're super open through the front of the body. Hopefully we are feeling strong enough at this point to feel comfortable being vulnerable like this, right? We're letting our soft, squishy insides be exposed to the world. If this is not comfortable, we could be in a more protected position where we take the feet wide, let the knees knock in, and cross our arms over our hearts, giving ourselves a hug. So yogi's choice. Maybe our hearts feel better being held, being protected. Maybe our hearts feel better being open, being unleashed. And it might just be that you've had a week where you're spending a lot of time sitting at a computer. The body isn't ready to open in this direction so much. You're still sort of crunched up. We could even have our hands behind our head or propped or bolstered in any other way. All right, once you've made yourself comfortable, I will guide us through a relaxation. I will sit up to project my voice. You can stay exactly as you are. So we got our real mama bear energy going, ready to fight for ourselves. And that was our yang of self-compassion. Let's get into our yin of self-compassion. So a lot of this is drawn from Kristin Neff's work, and she is, if you type in self-compassion, probably the first result, selfcompassion.org. And she has all sorts of self-compassion breaks and exercises and research. And self-compassion is not just, oh, well, I'll give myself a get out of jail free card. And sometimes people think that they've done a lot of good for themselves by beating themselves up. But actually the research shows that by being realistically encouraging, but give ourselves a little bit of a push, that's the sweet spot of self-compassion. So we can be encouraging like a good coach, loving like a loving friend, but we do still have that kind of, I like to pick a wild animal, like when we did tiger's pose, that like ferociousness. We can have that for ourselves. And it's about balance. So we already brought that ferociousness in. Let's bring in these softer, more loving feelings. And a lot of what we do is simply acknowledge the truth, noticing how we're feeling right here, right now. We can do this through our 5 senses, our emotional awareness. And then just acknowledge what's been weighing on your mind recently. What kind of tough stuff you've been working through. And sort of, we might even want to take a hand to a heart, physically touch ourselves, or picture someone who's been loving and supportive of us in the past. And sort of say to ourselves, they're there. Maybe saying to ourselves, I just want to acknowledge what I've been through. One of my favorites, into each life a little rain must fall. We've all been there in the muck. And noticing how far we've come, applauding ourselves, thinking, I'm still here. I've been through it, and I'm still going. I'm still standing. I have the right to be here, and I'm doing okay. And let's picture ourselves in the near future, acting peacefully, moving through our lives with peace and ease, our jaws relaxed, our muscles soothed, our hearts soothed. Imagining that we can support ourselves in every way that we need to, while also asserting our needs and being fair to everyone we come into contact with. Picturing our hearts as a brilliant ball of light, shining out in all directions. And as this light shines, it brings confidence, strength, softness, and wisdom. It spreads through every inch of your body, to the tips of the fingers, tips of the toes, top of the head, soles of the feet. Feeling the breath flowing smoothly here, imagining the breath filling the entire body, front to back, top to bottom. Becoming aware of the beating of our hearts, inviting the heart muscle to relax, to beat slowly, smoothly, gentle strength with every beat. Feeling the breath in the heart space like an undulating wave in the ocean. Picturing that this brilliant ball of light from our heart space is shining out in all directions, creating a bubble of safety for ourselves, and also becoming a positive influence on every life we touch. And since we know that recovery is one of the best benefits for our hearts, feel free to stay as you are for as long as you like. We may like to take hands over heart, or maybe a hand to heart and belly to feel the flowing of our breath, to be connected to ourselves. But our official time together is up. Like I said, stay where you are as long as you like. But thank you so much for carving out this time in your own life. Feel free to sit up with me if you would like. We can bring hands to heart center, joining our energy. Acknowledging the time that we've spent for our own healthy heart well-being. Thank you so much for joining me here today. From my light to yours, namaste.